Hi dollies! So what was it like having tics in school? This is one of the most asked questions that I get. I've answered it very briefly beforehand, on TikTok mostly, but it's a bit of a touchy subject, but I've just decided to do a whole video on it because I know that there's other people out there that have experienced tics in school or will, and I just want you to know, like, you're not alone in that. I decided to give a full-on rundown on this because if I'm gonna bring awareness on things like this, I need to include all environments and all experiences. Not just ones that are lighthearted, not just ones that are not that bad. So yeah, I went to a Catholic all-girls private high school. And you can imagine how that was for me. As someone that is disabled, has tics, is alternative, is black, and isn't exactly Catholic either. First, let's talk about tics in the classroom. In the classroom, I did tic freely, but I was also super anxious and embarrassed about my tics. In high school, I was still yet to accept my tics as something that I could not control and would still suppress to a degree. This is because I felt like a distraction, I felt like a burden, I felt annoying, I felt like no one really wanted to be around me. And the students in my classes would usually ignore them, but I would also notice that I was being stared at a lot, which is something that, as someone with tics as noticeable as mine, you do have to learn to deal with. It is very humiliating, and it seems like everyone in the world is just looking at you like you're some sort of weirdo. It was something that I experienced. Of course I would, because bitch. It was something that made me stand out, obviously. So people are gonna stare at you and look at you weirdly. Even if they know what's going on, they still, like, it's shocking to some people. So yes, some people will stare at you. That's how it was for me. I got stared at anyway because I was alternative as well. And a lot of the girls that went to my school were white, Catholic, and just, you know, the Lululemon wearing basics. Nothing against them, but a lot of them were just pieces of shit, I won't lie. Let's talk about tests and other times where quiet is needed. So I had accommodations in high school. I had a 504, which included extra time on tests, separate rooms for tests. I took my tests in my own little room by myself. Extra time on my homework if I needed that as well. Fuck you. I could Bluetooth connected. I could leave class anytime I wanted to if my tics were bad or disruptive. And for the longest time, I would even use my accommodations because I felt lazy for it. I felt like I was taking advantage of it. Because for the longest time, I wasn't accepting the fact that, yes, I'm different. I was trying so hard to fit into something that I wasn't in order to be accepted by other people. This is your word of advice now. Don't do that. It's not gonna work. You're just gonna end up burning yourself out and being depressed. I also sat in a separate area for our prayer services because, yes, we did have prayer services because it was a Catholic school. So I sat in the separate area called the skybox. It used to just be me in the skybox. I would just, you know, tic freely up there because no one else was up there, right? So I felt free to just be myself and, like, get some homework out of the way while I just watched the prayer service through the glass. Before I got this accommodation plan, though, I had to sit in these prayer services. And I couldn't really do that just ticking freely, right? So I would suppress during these prayer services. Bitch. And it was so painful. Oh my god, it was just so frustrating and exhausting to have to sit through that whole prayer service and suppress my tics. I don't even know how I did it, dude. Like, now I would not be able to do that. Like, no. I can't suppress my tics that well anymore. It's been a while since I've ever suppressed my tics like that. If I tried to do that now, no. Beans. But yes, I would sit there through that prayer service, not being able to focus on anything but the fact that I felt this like building sensation in my body. And I would let out like really small tics here and there. But obviously I was not able to fully let myself tic because of the quiet environment. And during these prayer services, people would still stare at me. People would still give me crazy looks. Because why is this person doing those weird movements and making those weird noises, right? Anyways, after these prayer services, I would have lunch. So this part is extremely humiliating to me. During lunch period, the friends that I did have, we would all sit together, either outside or inside. And after these prayer services, I would have a tic attack. If we were outside, I would just usually be on the floor having this tic attack in the grass, screaming and shouting and hitting myself, while my friends just watched me. It was the most humiliating thing that I've ever experienced, honestly. Looking back on it now, I can't even fathom, like, going through that again. But if we had lunch inside, if it was too cold to sit outside, I would just go up to the counselor's office, bitch, and I would, fuck you, have a tic attack up there in the quiet space of my counselor's office. Now, I really loved my counselor. She was really, really sweet. She was understanding. She made me feel safe. She made me feel like she was the only person that didn't see me as like a burden or a freaking charity case. I miss her a lot, but she did leave like a few years into my high school experience, which was really upsetting and saddening to me. I did cry when she left. Back to the prayer service thing. This is super frustrating. People started fingering, bitch. People started sorry, that was weird. People started to take advantage of my accommodation. As the years went by, more and more people started to come up there simply because they didn't want to go to the prayer service, not because they had tics that they couldn't control and would disrupt the whole thing. This heavily frustrated me because they used this time to do like homework and be all quiet, which made me feel like I was in the classroom again. I was down in that prayer service again. So I felt like I had to be quiet for them to do their work while I was up there holding in my tics again. Like, that just literally disrupted the whole reason for me having this accommodation. It genuinely pissed me off. Let's get to the social aspect. Obviously, I was outcasted for many reasons. I dressed weird. I have disabilities, obviously. I'm a minority, of course. I either got treated like a charity case or the plague by students. In a charity case, mostly by the staff members. People didn't really want to be around me that much. This was mainly targeted towards students. People just saw me as not really worth their space or their time or getting to know, because I just seemed like I needed a lot more empathy out of people. And if you want empathy in this type of environment, you ain't getting it. The staff saw me as like some poor little baby that needed saving. And the students just saw me as just fucked up in every way. I had to survive in an environment that was not made for me. The couple of friends that I did have, I say friends because, I mean, they'd hang out with each other outside of school, but I wasn't really invited. But I was friends with other outcasted people. That being neurodivergent people, alternative people, and people of color. But obviously, I still felt like the outcast. Because even in that group, I didn't feel always included. Because while yes, those people did have some relativity to what I was experiencing, it was still different because I experienced all of those things and not just a few of them. They couldn't really relate to me at the same extent is what I'm trying to say. I just felt like super alone. I would cry so much during school, after school, before school. Like, I was just super depressed at the time. This is because I realized that I was going to be treated differently and I was going to be treated badly because of something that I couldn't control. And it was just a really hard reality to accept for myself. I always get asked, how are you so brave? How are you so courageous? How are you so articulate? How are you so wise? It's because I had no one to speak up for me. I had to do that all on my own. I had to find out all of this stuff on my own at such a young age. I endured a lot of bullying and harassment at such a young age. It was crazy. I forgot to mention the bullying for some reason. But in class, specifically one of my literature classes, I am assuming that this was sophomore year or junior year. I'm not 100%. I think it was sophomore year. But in my literature class, these two girls would mock my tics in this class. They would move their head and like laugh about it, making fun of my tics. And they got a kick out of that. They also got a kick out of the fact that them doing that triggered my tics to be worse. Because, yes, even though they were not real tics, anyone doing any type of sudden movement or sound or saying a sudden phrase will most likely trigger my tics. I've also had people record me in the past. Yeah, it was just a whole thing. It wasn't just in high school. It wasn't just because of my tics. It was because of literally everything that made me up as a person. Bitch, if I didn't learn all of that, I would succumb to the thought that yes, my tics and my differences made me unworthy of love. I would succumb to the thought that all of that made me unworthy of being happy. I would succumb to the thought that all of that made me unworthy of living and breathing on this earth. And that is a reality that I struggled to change for myself for a very long time. I did think those things for a while, but I took it upon myself to reprogram my brain to think otherwise. And it wasn't easy. My whole high school experience was literally just fighting. Like, I didn't really feel like I got to experience high school in a way that was supposed to be fun, that was supposed to be exploring myself. I felt like I had to fight with parts of myself and fight with other people for who I was. For the simple fact that I was different. So, no, high school was not fun. It wasn't easy. It was 10 times as hard as other people around me. And for that reason, I felt like a lazy piece of shit. I'm gonna just keep it real. It took me so long to accept that my brain works differently. Yes, I need different things. But yeah, that's all that I have to say on this subject. I do have a separate disability, which is FND, which I will end up talking about in another video because that's a whole another can of worms that needs to be addressed. But yeah, I hoped this was educational. I hope this was fun. Well, not fun, but you know. I hoped you enjoyed watching this, my little rant. But yeah, bye guys.